Too often now, I have to talk about consumers having products stolen from them, and this is the unfortunate truth we have to face when it comes to an all-digital future we're quickly approaching. And now Funimation is shutting down this year, but on top of that, if you purchased anything off of Funimation, all of those items are being ripped away from you. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. We all knew that there was going to be some sort of merger between these two streaming services because, of course, Sony and Funimation acquired Crunchyroll back in 2020, but I do not think that people were expecting to have their purchases ripped away from them. This is a Niche Gamer article. It says Funimation has announced that they will be shutting down their service later this year as part of their ultimate merger with Crunchyroll. Back in 2020, they acquired Crunchyroll, and this put the two major anime streaming sites under one umbrella. I personally have not been happy with this decision because now there is really not a lot of competition. Of course, Crunchyroll and Funimation used to be each other's competition, but since Sony just decided to purchase them on up, now we don't have that. And even though Crunchyroll and Funimation each have had their own problems with, hiring localizers who are doing very poor jobs. Also, making decisions with what content can and can't be on their streaming services that because it, is deemed too controversial or too graphic, or they simply do not want to support maybe a certain artist who is behind a project. Now we don't have that. Now all of the content is basically just it's not going to have anyone to really rival it. And while there are other streaming services like High Dive, definitely not on the scale of something like these two. It says then in 2022, Sony made the decision to merge both platforms together under the Crunchyroll brand identity. Now, after it has been announced for 2 years and combining their libraries, Funimation is finally shutting down its services on April 2nd, 2024. And this statement says, as part of Crunchyroll's unification of fan services announced in March 2022, the Funimation app and website will sunset on April 2nd, 2024. Rest assured, this transition will not impact your access to the vast library of anime available on Crunchyroll. We remain committed to delivering the best anime streaming experience and will continue to expand our offerings to cater to your diverse interests. Take a shot every time they say diverse, and while they are saying it will not impact your access to the vast library of anime available on Crunchyroll, now we're finding out that, well, it's going to affect the access to products you've previously purchased, because what is going to happen to my digital copies? We understand that you may have concerns about your digital copies from Funimation. Please note that Crunchyroll does not currently support Funimation digital copies, which means that access to previously available digital copies will not be supported. And then they go into this whole spiel about how they're continuously working to enhance their content offerings, but they say nothing about a timetable of if they did plan to actually give people their content back. It's not like they're sitting here saying, we completely understand your purchases mean a lot to us, and we are going to, over the next 12 months, find a way to phase that content to you. That's not what's happening. They are already admitting defeat and saying you're never going to get that content back, which of course is so ridiculous. If I purchased a product, I deserve to have access to it or a refund. We're not talking about people renting a product or, of course, watching it via streaming. If I bought it, I expect to own it. If I pay for an item and they're refusing to remedy it, not only is it scummy, but it should be illegal. This is actual theft. We shouldn't have to worry about when our paid content could be ripped away from us. And yes, this is all covered in a EULA, but this is a major reason why people hate these companies and hate the idea of an all-digital future. And only recently, the same thing happened, of course, it's not actually that funny, with PlayStation, because some PlayStation users were losing access to TV shows they had purchased over 400 pieces of content could have been completely ripped away from you if you purchased them. Sony announced that users will be losing access to several Discovery TV shows that they have previously purchased through the PlayStation digital store. And of course, this is because of licensing, but it does not matter to me because, again, I purchased a product. If you are going to take it away from me, you should be refunding me, whether it is money in my bank account or at least a credit on my account, but that is not what they are doing. And this is why every single time I see a situation like this, I call it out, because this, of course, is disgusting. And this, of course, is pushing people towards piracy. How can these companies claim to, of course, not want to push people towards piracy when that's exactly what they're doing? Of course, every company is worried about losing potential funds, and they're trying to find ways to, protect themselves when it comes to like video games DRM. But at the same time, how long can they really expect people to stand around waiting to have their content ripped away from them? It's the same thing with digital games on Steam or GOG. If your account gets banned, your inventory of games is gone forever, and they don't care, which is disgusting. If you're gonna rip what I own out of my library, you should be giving me a refund, even if it's not back in my bank account or on my card. At least credit my account, but none of these platforms do this. I cannot stress enough the necessity of physical media. This is why I purchase physical products every chance I get, and I always will. I have shelves of video games behind me, and a lot of them are newer games because I want to purchase physical any chance I get, because I do not want to support the all digital future that we're inevitably headed towards. I'm not stupid. I know that physical media is on a timer. It's going to eventually disappear, but I want to try and help prolong its existence as long as I can, in hopes that laws will be passed to protect consumers and their digital goods so situations like this can't happen. I'm always wary of more government regulation, but I'm a big supporter of consumer advocacy, so digital goods need to be protected by government regulation. It's the only thing that can be done. And, of course, people are not happy to hear this. People are very upset, and it will be interesting to see over the next couple of days and couple of weeks how many people are having boatloads of products away from them. Of course, we all knew that it was going to be inevitable, that these services were eventually going to merge, and of course, Crunchyroll's prices have drastically increased over the past 2 years. I don't really see that happening, but now that Funimation isn't really around, yes, you could go to other streaming services like HiDive, but of course, Crunchyroll and Funimation's libraries together is kind of a behemoth, so you're most likely going to want to support them even if their prices are raised quite a bit. And it's just such an unfortunate situation. I know a lot of people have also been talking about maybe how they are, gaining a monopoly on the anime streaming services. Only time will tell if something will come about that, if people will end up boycotting Crunchyroll now because of decisions like this. We still do have a couple months, and that means a couple months for them to make more awful decisions and price hikes, things like that. But I will be keeping my eye on this situation and seeing how many people are complaining on social media about dozens, maybe even hundreds of products they now have ripped away from them. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.